Welcome to Complexity Made Simple. My name is Paul Allen, and the subject of today's video newsletter, well, we're going to talk about your data and how the data that you have is money for free if you use it properly. Yeah, so you go to a lot of trouble to collect data, and for me, you don't do anything with it, but if you did, money for free. And all you need is a piece of paper and a pencil. So let's talk about this. Essentially, of course, all your processes generate a distribution. What are you trying to do? Well, you're trying to get that distribution in the best place possible in order to be as defect free as possible. Okay, and your process might look like that. It might, if you're a little bit luckier. Let's draw something a bit more capable. Might look like that, so defect free. Of course, what are you constantly trying to do? Well, you're constantly trying to land the middle on the target, on the nominal, and you pay your operators almost to do that. And by the way, just before we start, that's as much as they can do. They are only responsible for the middle. They only have dials. Think about this. They only have dials on their machine that moves the distribution backwards and forwards. What they do not have is a dial that reduces the range, that reduces the variability. There is no dial that will bear down and reduce the noise on a process. They only have the ability to influence the signal. The noise, by the way, is down to senior management. You choose to buy cheap material, do lack of training, you choose not to maintain your machinery. The more you violate those rules, the more noise you put in the result, and the less chance the operator has to be defect free. So what do we want? We want the operator to land that bloody thing on target as fast as they possibly can and be as defect free as quickly as possible. Now this is where your data, well, put it the wrong way around, it should say free money. Your data is free money. So let's have a look why that is. Well, look, they're trying to judge. This is the hardest job in your company, by the way. The hardest job in your company is to land the result on the target. Doesn't matter whether an engineer's doing this, doesn't matter whether an operator's doing this, doesn't matter whether the guy's been here for 140 years. This is the hardest job in your company. And they're trying to land the process, trying to get this thing to land on target. Okay, now then, how will they do this? Well, of course, what they do is they do it a data point at a time. So they collect a single data point. Now, do you think a single data point can tell them where this is? Not really, no. It doesn't stop them trying, by the way. So they get a single data point with above the target. So what do they have a tendency to do? Well, they'll have a tendency to swing on that. Bring it down. Then they'll take another data point. What will they have a tendency to do? Well, they'll tend to swing on it again. Then they'll take a data point. And they'll take a data point. They might take their hands off at that point. They might take a data point. They might be starting to think they've hit the middle at this point because they've straddled either side of the nominal there. And that's what they're trying to do. Now you have something in your filing cabinets, in your computers, that's money for free to help them to do this, and it's the previous data for the same job, the previous run of the same job. But it's kind of crucial. If you're going to do this, it's got to be in a graphical form. Okay, so let's put this up again. Here we go. Operator, what are they trying to do? They're trying to hit the nominal. But this time, what do you give them to help them? Well, you give them the last time the job was run. In fact, I would give them the whole bloody history of the thing. But that's a different matter. So the last time the job was run. Okay, there's the 50 data points that we generated with the last batch. Now, because they can see this, they have a chance. They have more data, and they're comparing these results to the previous run. And this is such a powerful set of data. This will help you to be as defect-free as your process will allow you to be. Because look at this, for instance. Let's say that the tolerances are here and here, so put some tolerances in. So look, let's say they get a data point there, and you're not showing them this, so you're not showing them what's happened previously, okay? So assume that we behave in the way everybody behaves, and you just take all the data off them and you put it in a filing cabinet, and you don't allow them to see it again, or you put it on a computer and you don't allow them to see it again. That data point there, normally it's inside the tolerance. What would the guy be thinking? Well, I'm okay, you know, I'm good to go. But look at it. Look at where the previous data set was. It's a mile outside what the process has achieved before. That single data point would be screaming at your technician or your operator, something is wrong. Money is being lost. And the only way I decided that was because on a piece of paper, I plotted a graph. And this is important, by the way. You have to show them the graph, not the data. You have to show them the graph. And from that single data point, I can judge so much more about my process, make much more intelligent decisions. It's free money, folks. Why would you not give them this? Okay, so, but the important thing, and this is crucial, it's got to be a graph. And my view is, you've got to do something that forces them to look at it. Yeah? You've got to force them to look. One of the problems I find with computerizing the graphical responses that come out of processes is that what the operator gets to do now is to just put the number in. So he puts 56.3 in and he presses enter. And when he presses enter, what does he do? Well, he turns away from the graph and he starts playing with the machine again. And he's not looking at the graph. You need a run chart, something that forces them to look. And what forces them to look? When it's hand drawn. A piece of paper and a pencil is free money. Because if they've got to look, here's the previous data, and they've got to do this. They have to look at the pattern. Whereas if you just say, enter these numbers into the computer, they go 56.3, 56.8, 56.2, 56.1. Now press enter, and they'll turn away and they'll look at the graph. If you hand draw it, they have to look at the pattern. And when you do that, it's free money. That's how to get cash out of the data that you're collecting. If you computerize it, I always worry. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but it doesn't force them to look. People will just enter the data. A little example from a client of mine, we got them to draw some data sets. We were trying to solve a problem. And they plotted a graph. And when they looked at the graph did this. Shot up here to some random place. And then he did it again later. There's another one up here like this. Yeah. And I said, well, what's this? And they said, oh, that was a typo. And the typo was like 10 points from where it should have been. So it was miles away from where the process should have been. And when you looked at that, you go, well, they couldn't be looking at the graph. Because if they looked at the graph, When they typed in 46 instead of 56, the graph would have reacted and they would have gone, oh, I've typed it in wrong. They're not using the pattern. They're not using the pattern, and it's the pattern you want them to look at. So get your data, get it on a run chart by hand, force them to look, and it's just free money. You will get your processes centered better, defect free, low defect rates. I mean, you're not going to be defect free with this, but if you can get that thing centered, defect free, and you'll get it defect free with the lowest number of data points. And all you need is a piece of paper and a pencil. It is free money.